Next up, we've got a welterweight match between Cole Williams and Jason Witt. Now, in my opinion, James, this is the fight. There's always one. This is the fight that I drew a line through. I watched about 5 minutes of tape on these guys, and I went, nope. I don't think that either of these guys are necessarily UFC caliber. I don't know that either of them are going to do very well in the UFC in general. They're both 0-1 in the UFC, coming in here trying to get that first win in the cage. Maybe one of them will surprise me. Jason Witt's been knocked out 4 times. His UFC debut was less than 50 seconds. And I mean, of course, that's going to leave a bad taste in your mouth. Cole Williams is coming off of a full year-long layoff. Both of them are a little bit older. I don't know if they're either really hot prospects in this spot. I have no interest in betting this on any side of things. And I guess if I had to make a pick, I would fade the guy who's been knocked out 4 times in his career. But I'm not touching it.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way. By the way, I forgot to mention in the last one, I interviewed Jacoby for odds.com, so you guys can find that interview on there. I also interviewed Jason Witt as well, if you want a little bit of insight there. Let's talk about some context, though, Clint, because it's easy to look at that last fight, and I mean, that's about as bad as a debut as you can get for Jason Witt, but the circumstances surrounding that are pretty crazy, and Jason talks about that in our interview where, he found out about that fight on like days' notice. He had to get on a plane, get over, take the fight, and then if you guys remember, that fight was supposed to be on the prelims, but because they didn't have his medicals done in time, like literally at the very last second, they actually moved it to the main card. So imagine as a fighter, you've been waiting your entire life to make the UFC. You don't even know if you're going to fight because there's all these logistics that sort of have to go into it. So I almost give him a bit of a pass in that debut because those are some crazy circumstances in terms of having to deal with all that. But like I said, terrible performance getting finished in 48 seconds. But I kind of feel the same way. I know Jason quite well. I've actually seen him fight live. He actually fought up in Canada years ago, fighting a local kid by the name of Ryan Dixon, ended up knocking him out. The crowd went completely silent. And that's the first time that Jason Witt was ever on my radar. This was back in 2015. So I know Jason, I've been following his career for a while. He's had some setbacks, but he's a guy that James Krause believes very firmly in. It's just a matter of him, like in the gym, this guy is outstanding. It's a matter of putting it together in the cage. And you talked about some of the setbacks he's had, losing to Hugh Pulley, losing to Justin Patterson. Those are wins that I'm sure he would have liked back. He also struggled making weight in some of those fights too. So that's been another issue for him that I think he's got under control now. But Cole Williams, 11-2 record, you think, wow, this guy's pretty good, but he's 36. You mentioned the layoff. A lot of the competition he's fought on the regional scene, not exactly notable names here, whereas I'd almost give that edge to Witt. So I think Witt wins this. I think with a full camp, you're going to see a much different fighter than the one you saw in his debut. But I kind of feel the same way where it's like, I think both these guys are kind of on the edge of do they belong in the UFC or not. I know you're going the dog in this one, but just having known Witt and having seen what he's done throughout most of his career, I feel a little bit more confident giving him the edge just based off the experience and based off the fact that he's coming from a really good gym at Glory MMA with, James Krause and Grant Dawson and Kevin Kroom and all the guys we've seen over there recently just really light it up. So I think Witt's going to get the win here finally. And I wouldn't lay any money, though. I would stay away from this one personally as well.
I feel you there. I am a huge fan of James Krause. That I cannot state that enough. I absolutely love the guy. He's got a great mind for MMA, and he does some fantastic things with his fighters. So I can absolutely understand taking that angle with it. It just, some of these guys, you mentioned he looks so fantastic in the gym. Some guys just can't make that transition. You know what I mean? Some people rise to the occasion and others wither under the bright lights. And at this point in his career, I got to wonder if he's maybe just that guy that can't quite get up in the moment. So we'll see. Again, I'm not putting any money on it. I'm definitely not betting this fight. I would suggest everybody Fireball and Popcorn this one. Do a shot, get a snack, just hang out. Speaking of which, I haven't thrown this one out there for a while, but if you want a Die Hard t-shirt, Fireball and Popcorn, the Die Hard stimulus check, or just the one with the sexy logo, I threw just a random shirt on to get ready for the stream because I was, like I said, technical issues, so I'm not rocking it today, but you can find those over on pupsportsradio.com. They do all the merch for the show.